Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to In the Studio with Matt, Tommy, and Patty Ann Hale. We're here on a cold but cloudy Asheville morning, or afternoon, I guess, right? Because it's officially 12 o'clock.
It feels like morning because we're so tired.
I know it. I know it. I had one of those naps yesterday that was like, I was just telling Linette, who's our guest today, I laid down and she says, "Oh, it's like a brick, was it?" And I said, "Yeah, I was like a brick because I just went down." And you know when you start drooling on the pillow and that's the way it was. It was
TMI.
TMI. I know, exactly.
What an introduction, right?
I know, exactly.
When am I going home?
That's right. But we are so glad today. This weekend has been a prophetic creativity weekend that we had out at in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Had about 33 artists, Ray Hughes, Brian and Ramey Whalen, as well as Patty and I, and Linette Penney-Gainham, who's here from Scotland. So,
Ta-da.
woohoo! Yeah, in all her glory. So we're so excited that she's been with us since last Tuesday and been here all week, helped with the retreat, and is here to be our guest today on the radio show. So welcome.
Thank you. Very honoured.
Yeah. So we introduced her to grits, or at least tried to, right?
Yeah, we gave her grits.
It doesn't.
We
no.
set grits in front of her.
What was that you said? I've had so many comments about, if you have to put something in it, it's not.
Yeah, if you've got to add ingredients to something to make it taste nice, there's something fundamentally wrong.
That's right, exactly. Because that's how it is with grits. Everybody has their own deal. It's like, oh, put sugar in it. Oh, put salt and pepper and honey.
What?
Just eat it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody said yesterday, oh, it's kind of like a canvas.
A blank canvas.
A blank canvas.
So you should have told me that when you were trying to get me to eat grits. It's like,
oh, okay.
And I was like, and your point is?
I don't eat canvas. So anyway, we had a great weekend. It was. This is the first time that we've done this kind of thing. usually our conferences are larger and we do more workshops. And the whole point of this weekend that we just did was to. I don't know, the word I was using was intensive, to have a time where we could really, instead of doing like a round robin and having a lot of different classes, really have students be able to come and participate in one class all weekend and really feel like they got something out of it. And I don't know about you because we hadn't talked a lot about it, but I really got a lot of feedback of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I love the big events, but when are you doing another one of these? Because this was huge."
Yeah, it was really nice as a teacher to be able to have the same students, four different sessions, over 2 days, and really spend almost every day with them, like the whole day, just painting and going through their process and learning how to hear the Lord in their process and learning how to work that out with their colors and their the on canvas time, not just demonstrating and then turning them loose, which is what usually happens if you have a shorter time period. So to be able to have that long length of time with them was really incredible. It was incredible, not just like technically like getting to see their process and helping them at a slower pace through the process, but to see what the Lord was doing with them, and with their heart and with what His message was for them for the whole weekend. That was really incredible. Really getting to know them.
Yeah, sure.
It was cool.
So, Linette, how was that for you? I mean, this weekend be with all these different students, and I'm sure accents and all that,
It was fantastic.
Yeah. Because you do a lot of teaching in Scotland as well.
That's
at conferences
right.
And,
I would do like an all-day workshop.
Okay.
Quite often, but to have the extra time, like Patty's saying, it was a lot more relational.
Yeah.
So you weren't just imparting teaching, but you actually got to get to know people and, to really be able to minister. Patty spent a lot of time praying with the artists and just walking them through their emotions and how they felt about their painting and the whole process. I loved it, and we laughed a lot about accents and words, and it was good.
That's right. Because so much of I think our creative process, which we talked about this week, is not just the result of our skill, but it's also taking that unique thing that God's done inside of us, all the pain, all the joy, all the history, and being able to communicate that authentically through whatever we do. And so, like you say, sometimes in a 2-hour workshop, or afternoon thing, you don't get that. But this weekend was really an opportunity to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, the thing we did Saturday afternoon, I was just so blown away. We did this for those of you that weren't there. You should have been there, but anyway.
Next time.
Next time. But it was I started doing this thing a couple of years ago where I would instead of just going and teaching on prophetic worship or whatever, I would actually start, grab a poet, grab a painter, grab musicians, and actually, throw them together and say, play nice, and let's sing a poem, and let's sing write a song for a painting, and kind of interpret back and forth the creative process. And so we did that again this weekend, and oh my gosh, it was just so phenomenal to see. I mean, I loved Kimber, who, she was the first one to read her poem, and then we took that and began to sing it, and it just wrecked her. I mean, it was just a mess, which I loved. We loved you, Kimber. Don't mean to uncover right now, but it was just like,
our idea of success is if people are crying.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
that makes us happy.
That's right. But it is so good, I think, especially for somebody that does written, prose and that sort of thing. But and she is a singer, by the way, but it, had not been doing a whole lot of that lately. And just for somebody that has written prose and to be able to bring that and see it not only portrayed visually, but also in the auditory with music was just phenomenal. And it became a platform for us to jump off and worship, and everybody got engaged.
Yeah, I think like with her story, without revealing her personal story, but what she was doing in her painting had so much to do with finding her voice with the Lord. And so her painting was about that, and then you chose her for the poetry, and so she gave the poetry, and then she began to sing during the spontaneous collaboration that we did. And so it's stories like that I love, where you get to spend enough time with the same people, with a small group of people, so that you can see what the Lord is really doing on a broader scale in different arenas, even relationally and that kind of thing. So that was just incredible.
Yeah. I loved it. Have you ever done anything like that? I mean, spontaneous worship kind of stuff with the.
Yes.
Because it didn't seem foreign to you, so I wanted.
It floats my boat.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially my husband Keith and I. That's something we're really exploring in worship. Is asking the poets, the writers, to pass on to us in worship what they feel God's saying, or even the intercessors, and to see a link come between the painters and the musicians and the writers, and therefore you're singing the new song.
Right.
So that, it's something that is very much on my heart, and I think it's something that's going to expand even more.
It is, and I really believe that, because when I started the worship studio in Atlanta, I was mentoring worship leaders in a house of prayer, and I was seeing all these paintings on the wall, and I was seeing all these, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids that a lot of passion, not a whole lot of skill, and I was kind of helping to, guide that and develop that and everything. But it made such a beautiful marriage to start having creativity and worship, visual and performing arts together. And it was like they were sharing languages back and forth, and something an intercessor would get would then become a song, which would then become a painting, which would then somebody get healed when they walk in and see the painting. And it very much like the Tabernacle of David, I think, and it's a modern expression, but yet an ancient tradition. And
I think it's interesting as well that even within the different creative arts, we can't just assume that each understands the other. But in something like this, it gives understanding to the musicians about the process that the artist goes through.
That's right.
It gives the artist understanding of their painting being worship, and it crosses those lines and gives everyone much more understanding about their place in the process.
Sure. And even last night, it was interesting, because I had to kind of take a chill. I was like, all right, long weekend. I came home, took my nap. Then we had to go to a birthday party, which ended up being great. It was live jazz and Merlot. I mean, how bad can it be? But there we are. There's playing and everything, and the people that we ended up sitting next to are not creative at all.
Okay.
He's a doctor, she's a stay-at-home mom, and they were absolutely blown away by because we took all this and took it back to our church on Sunday, and then tried to.
Yeah, why don't you, for those that weren't there, why don't you explain like what that exactly was, like how that process went, so people will know what.
Definitely.
Process.
Well, I mean, we had a poet, for example, that had written a poem, and we had them come up and read that, and then I asked the musicians to begin to interpret that musically. So, I got one guy that was a great, rhythm guitar player. He'll kind of start out in a direction. And then I grabbed a worship leader, one of the singers, and asked one of the women, okay, you begin to now take this poem and turn it into lyric based on the thing that the guitar player is playing spontaneously. And then we just begin to feed everybody in to the process.
And the painter was.
And the painter, that's right. She was as well interpreting on canvas, and then we threw
the dancer came up.
The dancer, the didgeridoo, and all the stuff. I mean, it just became this like whoa. And so we took that to church yesterday and did it again spontaneously for folks that were not able to be at the weekend, in the spirit of what you just said, Linette, which is helping congregation people that are not necessarily artists be able to enter in and at least respect the process, so that it's not like a lot of times when you do things spontaneously in church or musically or very creative, sometimes people are just like, what is this? I don't get it.
Yeah, it creates an us and them.
Yes, very much. And we just really tried to break that down. And last night it was just over and over and over. People were just like, oh my gosh, we really got it. And I was like,
awesome.
Yes, I can't wait for this next week to see.
I think the important part you played was you acted like a conductor.
Yeah.
Rather than it being chaos or people being nervous about jumping in.
Yeah.
You gave them that encouragement, right, you come in, right now you come in, right, let's just have the voices, and that really helped to sort of settle people and encourage them. That was good.
I should have got some tails, like a tuxedo.
Let's not take it too far.
We'll have your honorary conductor coat.
You see, Linette, everything in America is big, big, big.
Oh, so okay. I'll buy you a baton.
Everything with Matt Tommy's like big, big, big.
Well, we want to hear more about you and your story, and so we're going to do that in just a minute when we come back here on In the Studio. So thanks for being with us today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on In the Studio.
The new music choice for Asheville. WGNW 95.7.
Here's the latest news from your hometown radio station, 95.7 The Choice. We have assumed the operation of the cafe here at 81 Patton Avenue. We have a new menu, new hours, and a new name. The cafe is officially called the Asheville Radio Cafe, the only restaurant, cafe, and music venue with its own radio station. Open every day at 11 a.m., closed on Sunday. Visit us at AshevilleRadioCafe.com. That's AshevilleRadioCafe.com. Did you know that cassia essential oil was an ingredient in the holy anointing oil given to Moses? Cassia essential oil has properties that are antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and antiviral. 95.7 The Choice would like to thank Jackie McLaughlin for her generous support. For more information about essential oils, visit oil-essentials.com or call Jackie at 828-452-2958. That's 828-452-2958.
Human trafficking is a growing problem right here in our own backyard. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the average entry age into prostitution in the U.S. is just 13 years old. Each year, over 300,000 youth are sexually exploited. On Eagle's Wings Ministries is a local nonprofit helping these victims through outreach, shelter services, life skills, and job skills training, working with victims from age 12 through 25. On Eagle's Wings accepts no government funding and relies entirely on community support. To learn more about supporting this wonderful organization, visit them online at www.oewm.net. 95.7 The Choice would like to thank On Eagle's Wings Ministries for their continued support.
And you're back with Matt, Tommy, and Patty Ann Hale here on In the Studio. If you're listening to us live, you're hearing us on 95.7 The Choice here in Asheville, but you can always listen to us online anywhere in the world, hopefully Scotland today, right? At 957thechoice.com, or you can always get our archives at theworshipstudio.org and click on resources and watch all of our archives there. And connect with us on Facebook, because we're always encouraging that. And it's just amazing to see how many artists are connecting with us on Facebook, which is kind of how we got connected. It's like, we pray for Mark Zuckerberg all the time. So, but the founder of Facebook.
Oh, I was good.
Who is that? I don't know him yet.
Have I friended him yet?
Exactly. Well, maybe that'd be a great way to start, because I wanted to just kind of hear more about your story today and introduce folks to who you are, not only creatively but just as a person, because obviously all of our creativity is an overflow
Yes.
of who we are and the things we've been through. And I guess we met about a year and a half ago on Facebook,
Yeah,
and
that's
through some
right.
mutual friends. And
That's right, yeah.
yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. And for those of you that don't know, we're actually planning a gathering of artisans this summer over in Scotland in June, to kind of take it on the road. And we really, God really began to knit our hearts together just with a vision for Scotland and the connection with the Worship Studio vision and of raising up
Yeah.
an army of artists. And so it's cool. So we're just so glad. And Patty's trying to decide how many months she can stay over there.
Exactly.
Keith might be building an extra room on your cottage, because
Like we'll be charging rent.
exactly. We love you, but pay up, So tell us about, everybody's got a story. Tell us about how you became to be kind of self-identified as an artist. When did that start for you? And tell us about your journey.
For me, probably all my life has been sort of exploring creativity. My mum said that I was I'd rather be drawing and painting and things rather than playing with dolls.
Yeah.
I think I was always making things. I used to get pens and open them up and dip the felt in the water and then put marbles in and sit them on my window.
Oh, wow.
With the colour showing through. So I was always doing things like that, and then always had interest in art or writing or music. And
Was your family creative as well? Or?
yeah, my mum's very creative. She used to paint. She doesn't do that so much now. She does sort of scrapbooking and things, but she's very creative. My brother's artistic, but
Yeah.
doesn't really use it much. And my dad was as well, but
Yeah.
more on, I'd say more on a graphic side without him ever really exploring it. He
Sure.
definitely had gifting in that. And then as I got older, and I became a Christian, I just started to use art within
Yeah.
my faith, and probably was doing art without knowing that it had a title or a name. It just seemed natural to do that, and probably in the 90s, going into 2000, I started to do it more intentionally and began to paint during meetings, and yeah, it's just gone from there really.
I'm encouraged to hear you say that, it was natural for you because, to kind of combine, when you became a
Yeah.
Christian, to combine faith and creativity, because so many people that we talk to, they're, either Christians and have this side hidden thing that they do.
Yeah,
and,
they feel they're supposed to lay it aside.
yeah, or they're artists and feel like the church and God has no role in their creativity whatsoever, and so they
Yeah.
kind of jettison the two. And how was that? How did that come to be such a nice marriage for you?
Partly just the way I am, just that I think I would explode if I didn't have some outlet to be creative.
Right.
But also, I've been blessed that I've been around people who have encouraged it.
Yeah.
I haven't been in churches where they're like, what are you doing? Or we're a bit suspicious. But actually, they've been like, yeah, this is great,
That's awesome.
brilliant. And
Isn't
that's
that
been a
it's
big
so
factor.
huge, isn't it? I mean, to have somebody that says, which is I say all the time, I think if we do anything at the worship studio, it's just saying, to people, I see God, I see value
Yes.
in what you're doing, how you're created, and you should do
Yes.
more of that. And the simple act of doing that is the thing that releases people. And
That's right.
And it's so many times a thing I think that the church and we as Christians miss because we're trying to get everybody to fit into our box
Boxes.
or our
That's right,
I mean
yeah.
you've gone through a lot of that, I think, in your background as well. With
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have many good situations, but I've also had a few bad. and I think, a lot of times the church does want to put things in boxes and make it work for it. Like over here, I don't know if it's this way in Scotland, but if it's the Easter service, then they want something creative. Or if it's the children's ministry, they want
A
something
special
creative.
occasion.
Yes, it's like a special occasion thing. And that can actually be wounding rather than honoring artists.
It's like
And
you're
so-
wheeled out and then put back in the
so-
cupboard.
Yeah, because artists are very sensitive, so we pick up on all these other little nuances of things, and Yeah, there's I think a long way to go here in America for art in the church, but that's part of what we're wanting to do. But the most powerful thing is to look at someone and say, the Lord values what you're doing, and we see what you're doing, and we encourage you. And then they somehow get that, and they take it back to their church, and it just starts to happen for them, and it's incredible. Yeah.
That's why I was so excited yesterday at our church, Camp Glory here in Asheville, that the church was open to having, I guess about 40 of us come into the church and
descended upon them.
Descended on them and on the fly hung, over 30 pieces of artwork and all new musicians on the stage, in addition to another band, in addition to people live painting everywhere and fire tunnels and impartation, and it was just like, wow,
it was
for 3
incredible.
hours. But it goes back to that whole culture of honor thing that, instead of us saying you don't fit or you don't look like us, it's being able to receive people as a gift.
Yes.
And for creative people, that's huge, because our gift is not something that is just something that is for the behind the scenes. Many times it is for the public. We said this weekend a lot, the calling of the artist many times is, do you see what I hear? Do you see what I see? Can you hear what I hear? Do you feel what I feel? And we're the ones that are called to ask the questions. And so we got to be with people, but it's like anything, we can rub people the wrong way sometimes.
Well, I think you posed it at the church. You posed it. I mean, we have a creative church anyway, but we did really transform the place yesterday, and it was like you posed it in such a way that to the people maybe that were not creative or were not artistically minded, they got an understanding that we were saying, we really want you to appreciate this. We really appreciate you. We want to give it as a gift to you, but we also, we want you to be a part of this. We want you to feel like this is also yours, and we want you to just love us in this, and I think when you pose it in that way, rather than going in like, oh, the arts is so important and it should be this and that in the church and let us show you how to do it, that totally shuts down the creative part that wants to come alive in every person. But you posed it from a place of humility and a place of like, we just really want to show you what we can do and what God can do, and we want you to enjoy it. And they did, and it was awesome. I was so blessed by our whole church yesterday. It was amazing.
And I think to see it in the context of community, that artists need to realize that when they give something, it's not the whole piece, it's also the response of the congregation, the response of people just in a gallery seeing your work. That's so important, for us in the creative process. I know musically especially, when you throw out a song or you're leading worship or something like that, you want people just to be like, that is rocking, or to be into it, or to just give themselves in worship. And it's like, instead of trying to drag a dead horse, up the hill, it's like, no, we're you want the congregation pushing and building, helping to build that momentum. And it felt like that yesterday, which was good. So I know, in America right now, it's even Ray Hughes said this weekend, community is kind of the buzzword, and everybody's wanting to have live artists painting on stage and that sort of thing. How's that in Scotland right now and in Europe? Are you seeing more and more people open to the arts? Is this something like, oh, this is very new, or we've been doing this for 10 years?
It depends where you go. Some people are very used to it, very comfortable with it, but all the time, and you'll find that here all the time, you'll have people that come in and it blows their mind. They've never seen it before. They're full of questions, and they're eager to learn about it and learn more, and bit by bit it is starting to expand in Scotland, and there are more artists that are painting live. There's more communication between different artists. It's almost like God has been working away underground for a long time, but now it feels like it's time for it to emerge. And it's a very exciting time, and I think that's why gathering coming to Scotland is exactly on time with God's timing, because it's going to create a much, the buzzword, the community will create that in a much stronger way through them being together, painting together, singing together, eating together, and then they'll leave there wanting to stay in touch with each other.
It was so good what you said too yesterday at church when you were sharing about you know, biting your fingernails.
Yeah.
Say that again. That was just so good.
Thanks for just telling the whole world.
I just thought it was great.
So
I mean, it captures what you're saying right here. Which is,
well, I was sharing about sharing your brokenness rather than pretending you've got it all together.
Yeah.
And one of the small examples I used was that when I was sharing the same message somewhere else, I had mentioned, well, I bite my nails, and someone else in the congregation went, so do I.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've just set you free.
Yeah.
Because being able to say, oh, I do that as well.
Yeah.
You're no longer trapped in that shame.
Sure.
You're able to say, I do that as well.
Yeah.
And it means you can start to be on a process to accepting yourself or being set free of that thing. So it's really important to be honest and be open.
And that works with the positive things as well, you know, just to be able to, for the first time, so many artists, there were, even this weekend, I'm always amazed, you know, this is the first time I've ever been away with other artists that are Christians, that love God, that want Him, you know, His power and presence in our creativity. And there's power in that. It's, I mean, you know, you guys, it was just with the strong clan, you know, mentality over in Scotland, but we call it like being a part of the same tribe. You know, it's like when you find your people, it's like, oh, I'm finally connected, and there's great power in that. So we're going to keep talking today to Linette Penney-Gainham, who's here with us from Scotland, here on in the studio. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Music you won't hear anywhere else, not even on Spotify. 95.7, The Choice.
Programming at 95.7 The Choice is made possible with the generous support of business partners like Area 22 Guitars. Area 22 Guitars is Western North Carolina's only boutique guitar shop. Whether it's an American-made all-tube hand-wired amp like Matchless, Divided by 13, Carr, or Fargen, or a U.S.-built custom luthier electric guitar brand like Anderson, PWE, Zion, Rowan, or Gatto, Area 22 Guitars specializes in the unique needs of the discerning musician. They carry a full line of boutique effect pedals like Keeley, Exotic, Rockbox, Menatone, and Wampler. And their acoustic guitars include Breedlove, Larrivee, Eastman, Bedell, and Crafter. Area 22 Guitars, not your average guitar shop. For more information, go to area22guitars.com or call them at 828-884-2222. That's 828-884-2222. If you are interested in playing here at the Asheville Radio Cafe, please contact Iron Circle Music. They are the Asheville Music Cafe's exclusive booking agency. Iron Circle Music is a local music production company handling concerts, events, fundraisers, and festivals. Iron Circle Music can be reached at ironcirclemusic@gmail.com or call them at 828-712-5690. That's 828-712-5690.
Can't wash your hands of your friend when you're tired or hurt or bored. Plant the seed, sure, that's fine. It's just that it's time to step up and water him, feed him, nurture him. Don't walk away like everybody else. Don't wash your hands of the pain and suffering around you. It's never been in your job description. Look, it's not about numbers. It's about a relationship, not religion.com.
And we're back here today in the studio with Matt Tommy and Patty Ann Hale. And we have in the studio with us our great friend Linette Penney-Gainham, who is here from Scotland, and an incredible prophetic artist, metal artist, a musician, just really one of us, right, Patty? Just one of us.
Yes, she's a painter. So
that's right.
Yay!
Yeah, she paints too, but yeah. I'm talking to her about baskets. That's the thing. Yeah, let's talk about your basketry career. No, not really, but yeah, it's been so great just getting to know you this weekend, and we've been talking, if you're just joining us, about Linette's journey as an artist, kind of coming into her own creativity and that sort of thing. And like a lot of folks, you know, I know for myself, you kind of start out like, wow, I'm going to be an artist, it's going to be great, and you start, you know, going through all the stuff and doing what you do, and then a lot of times you know, the enemy can just throw up a roadblock, or you come to a weird situation and you go through, it's kind of like your life goes on pause. And I know you've been through that, you know, even recently. It's just like, wow, where did that come from? And, you know, I'd be interested to hear just that story, and also how you've used your creativity to help process that as well. Cause
over the last few years, I've hit times, I would say bordering on depression, where I've felt like giving up. And not just giving up, but almost retreating, disappearing. And you're kind of scared of those feelings. And then last year seemed to be a year where it was really gearing up. I had a lot of prophecies, a lot of invites, and it was like, wow, this is all kicking off.
Here we go, right?
Here we go. Here's the fulfillment. It's coming after all these years. 2012, you know, and all the prophecies about 2012.
That's right.
You know, and
either going to be the end of the world, or it's going to be great.
You're going to love it or hate it. It was the Marmite year, you know.
That's right.
Like, oh, do you get Marmite? You might not know what that is. You either love it or
we're just being polite.
It's kind of. Well, let's just say it's like grits, okay?
Okay, exactly.
So gearing up towards the end of the year, I was involved with several different conferences, which was going to culminate in coming here to be part of Gathering of the Artisans in September, and then on to paint at Morning Star's Harvest Fest.
Harvest Fest, right.
And 5 days before I was due to fly out, my dad passed away. Quite suddenly. He had been ill, but we weren't expecting him to die so quickly, and it was literally like life stopped.
Wow.
And
because you guys were very close.
Oh, very, very close. We are a close family, and not even getting a chance to really say goodbye or anything. You know, you just go through so many processes, and like I always kind of teach about waves, and grief comes in waves. And for a long time, for several months, I didn't go to the studio. And even to go back to the studio, the same paintings were sitting. Everything was sitting exactly as it had been that morning. And even walking back in was hard. And to finish the paintings that I'd begun was hard. And while I was at home and I wasn't going to the studio, I sat many days, many hours, just in my pyjamas. And I started to make a tree out of wire. And it was cathartic. It was like a process of grief, and still creating out of that grief, but in a completely different way, and something that was just for me. And I made this, it's really quite big. I made it, and then it was like, where is this going to go?
Who's going to buy this?
Yeah, please somebody buy it, because there's no room in my house. And bit by bit, and it has developed even yet, and I probably still will go home and work on it. But as I worked on it, I knew it was about my dad. I knew it was about me and my feelings. And I've decided to call it Beauty for Ashes. And it feels like something that grew out of pain and grew out of loss. And yet, you know, still singing in the grief. And now, in the middle of that grief time, and going, right, okay, all those prophecies were rubbish, you know, that's all nonsense, got it wrong, definitely must have got it wrong. I got a call to go and speak in Ireland for a week, to teach for a week. And my husband Keith just laughed, because I was like, oh, you know, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not called to the nations, and that was rubbish. And then the call came in, and it was like,
whatever.
And since then, that was in January, and then I'm here. And I've been invited to Sweden with Light and Life. I've been invited to Cape Town, and I'm going back to Ireland again at the end of the year. And it kind of blows your mind, because you're like, perhaps that was the first fruits. Like,
that's right.
When God says about first fruits, He really does mean that the first fruits are His. So
it's so beautiful, I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Patty, as well, because you have such a strong connection with art and healing, and art through grief and that sort of thing, because it's, you know, God uses our creative process, I'm convinced, to connect with us in such a deeper way that, you know, I can't imagine that folks that are not overtly creative, you know, how they get through things like that. And yet you've been able to use not only this gift that usually ministers to others, but it became the mode in which God ministered to your heart to bring healing to you. And it's like, I think God honors that, because as you continue to press into that process, he continues to say, I got you. You know, all my promises are yes and amen. You know, I'm the one that started this. I'm going to keep going, and, you know, we're going to make this, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Just, you know, because we all go through that stuff of, like, you know, we were talking about it when I was doing Encaustics the other week, and I was, you know, making new work, and I was like, I suck. I can't do anything. I can't make a basketball. You know, and it's just like, no, just shut up and stick with the process. If you'll just press in, you know, God will meet you in that place that goes beyond our mental gymnastics, beyond all the stuff that we understand, and heal our heart. And I know that's real close for you as well.
Well, I think, you know, when we talk about using that in our creative process, it's not just painting or making a basket. I know I'll share just a little bit about when Wayne lost his sister this past summer, and he was at that time working a job that he didn't like, and we thought that it was going to be a job that he really would like, but he didn't. And it was right after, it was in the process of his sister dying of cancer, which was very sudden. And I remember talking with a friend at the studio, and we began to pray for him that you know, for his grief process. And it just came very strongly when we were praying, just like a word from the Lord, that he needed his creativity. And for him, that was, and I could just like see him swinging a hammer because he does building. And that to him is such a creative process to build. And so it was like he needs, like the place of the inner need, he needed to build something, to swing a hammer. And it wasn't, but actually a few days later, we had talked about that. Everyone was praying. And it was just released that he got a job again to work in construction and to be able to swing a hammer. And it has been a healing process for him, just being able to do what he was created to do. So that may be cooking for you, it may be gardening, it may be making music. But yeah, it's such an important awareness to have that that healing comes through our creativity. And I know that even this weekend in the class, you painted again a tree.
Yeah, that's right.
With like a circular form at the bottom and some colors wrapped around that. So can you share, like, maybe if that was a furthering process?
That's
that
interesting, because I
in?
hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Because Wayne was speaking to me about the painting, and he said, well, I really love how you've wrapped, it's like you've wrapped round the tree and wrapped round this sort of ball shape. And I said, well, I think that's because I like to work with the wire, and you know, I made the wire tree. I hadn't even thought about that connection, that, that they're linked. And that was very much about how we have the circle was almost like us in our own world. And the tree was the result of our lives, the fruit of our, you know, the work of our hands and the fruit of our lives, and how God wants to wrap round our lives and wrap round our world and wrap round the work of our hands and wrap round everything, you know. And it sort of represented wind as well. I think when I work with the wire, there's a sense of it. I've had this vision of a huge, massive sculpture of a tornado made of wire. So for me, I think that must be a connection. But yeah, it's a continuing process.
Yeah, and I think like you being here with us is part of that process, you know. Even if here I go on what I do. But,
you're about to cry on that.
I'm being live.
I'll be brief. So it won't be too intense. But you know, your dad passed away 5 days before you were to come to gathering to be with us, so we could, you know, just get to know each other, build relationship, and I think it was, you know, in some way, small or big, part of what the Lord was having you do, and you know, who He was calling you to be and do in the kingdom for the arts. And so you had said something at the church. I painted a painting this weekend that had a huge 5 on it, and you had shared that you were talking with someone else that something happened 5 days before your dad died, and you looked up at that moment and saw the big 5 on the canvas.
It was actually that he died 5 days.
And the 5 days before.
I had looked at Patty's painting, and I couldn't relate so much to the 5. I didn't understand it. And then right at the moment I was saying, you know, and then 5 days before I was and I looked up, and I had to actually say, I actually can't talk about this right now, because the emotion that came up, seeing that 5, and the 5 representing grace, and it really went deep inside my heart. And for my part, I understood the 5. You know, I saw it in a completely different way.
Yeah, and so that's how I think what came out as a major theme this weekend is what happens in your personal life and where you go and the people that you connect with and the relationships and the symbols that the Lord gives you in your grief process and all these things that are important to you in your life and how that comes out in your creativity and other people's creativity around you, how it can speak this message to you. It is prophetic at that point. You know, it's a message from God's heart to you, and He gives you those signposts along the way, which was what you were ministering about when that 5 came out on the canvas. Is about those, you know, it's about signposts for your life that keep you safe in the kingdom, keep you traveling in this journey of creativity, whether that be painting or basketry or music or whatever, you know, gardening or whatever your creativity is. And so, awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm finished with my session now.
I feel so much better.
You know, sometimes when I get to talking about something that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be talking about this. I need to just, you know, we developed a code word. It's just we say cranberries.
Cranberries.
Oh, really?
And so we can be saying anything we want to, and if it gets too deep, like I just can't deal with it right now, we just be like, cranberries. It's like, okay, it just gives us an out.
Do you do that on the radio? Because people will just
Exactly.
You know, like, what is wrong with you?
We've just told the world our code word. Now,
That's right.
They change it.
We got to change it now.
but no, then we would say,
Rutabaga, you know?
so, have you tried that cranberry juice?
In fact, I'll have some right now.
You could get some sponsorship.
That's right. We should. That's it. I love
You're
this.
thinking like Matt now.
That's right. That entrepreneurial thing, you know, going on. So that's so awesome. Well, we've got one more segment that we're gonna go to here right now. So I'm just if you're wherever you are in the world, I hope we got some folks listening in Scotland today or wherever you may be. Hope you're being encouraged by what God's saying through Linette and her story. And we've got a little bit more as we finish up today on In the Studio. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Supporting the local community. WGNW 95.7, The Choice.
Here's the latest news from your hometown radio station 95.7 The Choice. We have assumed the operation of the cafe here at 81 Patton Avenue. We have a new menu, new hours, and a new name. The cafe is officially called the Asheville Radio Cafe, the only restaurant, cafe, and music venue with its own radio station. Open every day at 11 a.m., closed on Sunday. Visit us at AshevilleRadioCafe.com. That's AshevilleRadioCafe.com. Did you know that essential oils were used in biblical times to protect God's people from pestilence? Frankincense, as an example, was said to be good for everything, from gout to a broken head. In other words, good from head to toe. 95.7 The Choice would like to thank Jackie McLaughlin for her generous support. For more information about essential oils, visit oil-essentials.com or call Jackie at 828-452-2958. That's 828-452-2958.
Where do you turn for Christian concerts and events?
Where can you get news from a Christian perspective and encouraging articles written by and about the local Christian community? Turn to the Journey Christian newspaper.
Available in print and online.
Visit www.journeychristiannews.com
Or call 828-676-6535.
The Journey Christian newspaper.
Encouraging Christians on their walk with Christ.
And we're back today here on In the Studio with Matt, Tommy, and Patty Ann Hale here live in Asheville on 95.7 The Choice. You can always listen to us online anywhere in the world at 957thechoice.com or grab our archives and see all our past shows at theworshipstudio.org. And go to the resources page, click on In the Studio, and see our pretty faces there. So, well,
We got a new pretty
we got a new pretty face. That's right, a Scottish face.
Scottish.
That's right.
Scottish pretty face.
Yeah, she keeps telling me, she's like, you know, I can do your accent, but you can't do mine.
No,
So it just
rubbish.
rubbish. You're a wee bit off, Matt. So, well, we wanted to take this last segment and just really talk about what God's doing in Scotland, and also kind of what we're excited to be, bringing as well. I think the exciting thing that we're working on right now together, one of the reasons that you came over here was to collaborate on Gathering of Artists in Scotland, which will be coming up in June, June 20th through 23rd. It's outside of Glasgow, is that right?
It is, yes. It's at Seamill, West Kilbride, which is on the west coast.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we're going to have it at this YWAM Center. And then we look on the website and we're like, it's a castle.
And we're like, no, it's a house.
It's a house. But the houses look like castles in Scotland, so it's so cool.
Let's say it's castle-esque.
Castle-esque. That's right. That's
quite good. Yeah.
It is very good.
It's castle enough.
Castle enough. That's right. It's enough to let us think we're going on vacation. But
it's old.
Yeah, it's awesome looking. And we're so excited about that. The interesting thing about when I wrote Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, and it sells on Amazon, and then people Amazon opened up this whole European wing, and so it started selling in Europe. And then last year we had a girl, Maya. Hey Maya, if you hear us,
Maya
from Germany.
Great.
And she was like, oh man, I love your book. I want to translate it into German. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. She's working on that. But we started picking up people from, that would hear about what we're doing in London and in Wales and Australia and all these other places. And it really was like, wow, this message of what God's doing, of raising up an army of artists, is really getting out. And then we started connecting with folks like you and others that are doing that same thing over in your country. And it's like, wow, we've got to partner together, because it's not about any one of us having the way to do it, or here's our franchise of Christianity, creativity or whatever, but let's just bring what each other has and see what God does. And I've so appreciated that about you this week, is just coming and saying, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's something that I can bring to the table. And it's been awesome, and our heart is to do the same when we go to Scotland. So
I was thinking about your baskets there, and how Gathering of the Artisans is like a basket. It carries different things.
Wow.
But as the carrier, it provides a form, like freedom within the structure.
Yes.
And that's why, like, my heart was like really leaping with joy about Gathering the Artisans coming, because you're coming to partner with the Scottish flavour, Scottish artists, not coming and bringing a model that we've all to become, but to add your flavour to ours. So it's very much a facility to Scottish artists.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I just, I'd love to help give people framework, because a lot of times that's, even when people read the book and they're like, I wish we had other people in our city or in our church that do this. And we're like, well, order 5 and invite somebody to your house.
Do a study.
Have coffee and do a study, and boom, you start to develop community. And it's amazing. Most people are like, oh, I never, it's like you're giving them permission.
Yeah.
And I think that's my heart, is just to, when we go to Scotland and come over there and, what's that stuff? Haggis? I'm going to eat that. I'm going to eat that.
I'm deliberately not telling you too much.
Exactly. But
just don't let me see see the process.
Yeah, that would be like
that's one of the processes I don't want to be a part of.
There's a story that the haggis has 3 legs and runs round in circles.
But I just want to bring this same thing of being able to say to Scottish and artists in the UK and Europe, and just the same thing that we're seeing over here, which is, man, you can do it. God's created you with a purpose.
Absolutely.
And your role in the kingdom is not, as our friend Stephen Roach says, ornamental. It is essential.
Yes.
It is essential to life in the kingdom, to seeing the beauty of God released, to seeing the power of God released in culture. And I can't wait. The Bible says every tribe and tongue will praise him. And every tribe and tongue has every clan has a different sound, a different flavor. And we want to see that and see that released in more and more power. And I just can't wait. It's gonna be great. So.
It's gonna be great. I think what's been very confirming that with Linette, you being here with us, is just how much we are alike, and how our roots go deep together, culturally, and that we're sitting here in the Appalachian Mountains, and the connection, the Scots-Irish connection with Scotland, and it's going to be incredible. I can just
We're all
I know
kinfolk.
it. Yes,
That's
we're all
right.
kinfolk. And so,
Minus the moonshine. But,
oh, yeah.
Well, you know. A wee bit. Just
A wee
little,
bit.
Just a little bit. Well, let's talk a little bit about the weekend that's going to be coming up over there in June. If you miss those dates, again, it's June 20th through 23rd. Registration is going to be open, we hope, March 15th. Give about 3 months to register there and pass the word. But the weekend of Gathering of Artisans is not just about coming to another conference and hearing a bunch of talking heads about how you should be creative or what you should be doing or what I'm doing, but it's really bringing together master artists, people who are both what we call filled and skilled. You've got the life of the Spirit inside of you. In Exodus 31, it talks about Bezalel was filled with the Spirit of God and with all the skill that he needed, all the manner of wisdom and knowledge and understanding and all the different crafts. And it's this two-winged, situation that we want to carry as artists. And so we're bringing artists that have that in. What are some of the classes we're doing over there? We've got prophetic painting and...
Yeah, there's watercolor, there's acrylics, there's healing through art, which Patty's covering, photography, we have needlework, oh goodness.
Maybe some basketry. We're talking to some people. We'll see.
Maybe. If nobody takes it, I'll have a wee shot.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think we know a basket maker that.
Yeah, I know someone that
That's
might.
right.
Yeah.
I'll go grab some limbs or something. We'll do some sculpture.
And we have movement in worship.
Yes.
As well, which is really creative and exciting.
And then also music. I mean, the whole worship end of things.
Yes, that's right.
So during the day, the wonderful thing about Gathering of Artisans is that, you're in workshops with artists, you're getting your hands dirty, not just listening to teaching, but actually collaborating and doing, the stuff. And then at night, also we're sharing meals together, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on campus. And then at night, worship services that'll be open to the public and really encourage folks that can't come to the conference but want to get the impartation of what God's doing. They'll be able to come out as well. And we've already been talking to folks in Wales and England, and I've not seen anybody from Ireland yet, but I just really believe that God's going to be bringing people from all over the UK and Europe to this. So.
I believe so too. And Light and Life is partnering with us in Scotland. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Light and Life and what they do? And
because they're so creative anyway. I mean, that's the out of the box.
It would come under the banner of creative evangelism, and we run fairs and we hold them in hotels, pubs, people's homes, wherever fits, whatever size, and we offer different stalls so people can come round. They can come to the spiritual art stall, which is the area that I head up and train, and they sit down and the artist asks God for a picture and they just draw a very simple picture and then share God's heart through the picture for the person. And there's massage, which is head, shoulder, hands. There's dream interpretation, prophecy, healing. There's all different stalls, personality styles, and there's an incredible buzz about these kind of outreaches, and they're non-threatening. It's all biblical, it's all under the heading of Christianity, and we declare that, it's the Spirit of Jesus Christ we are praying to.
That's right.
But it's a safe place,
a
very safe place, and we've seen so many salvations, and healings, and we have over 1,000 volunteers, and it's now spreading worldwide. We have outreaches in Africa. That's why we're going to Sweden to begin some there. There's interest from other countries too, but Barbara Jenkinson, who co-founded it, really felt from the Lord that it had to begin in Scotland first, to concentrate on that, and once that was established, then he would start opening the doors. So
be fruitful, then multiply. Right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
And I love as she talks about Light and Life, that it is such a just a beautiful partnership with who we are and what we do. So it just feels right to partner with you guys, because what you're doing is bringing the prophetic. You're helping people to know like who they are and to be who they are, and just really getting in there with the creative DNA of God and helping people to be released in that. So it just seems like a wonderful partnership. So I'm sure it's going to be great.
Well, it catches people off guard. That's what I love about creativity. Is
Out
it
of the
bypasses
box.
That's right. Yeah.
It does, and it just like, oh, that's cool, and before you know it, you're in a conversation and God's working, and you got them. I love that.
It's great, yeah.
It's about people's hearts in any way. I've always said, any way we can connect with people's hearts.
Yes.
We need to be doing that. And art, although it's not only about evangelism, is a huge evangelistic tool.
Absolutely.
And so it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think the thing with the Light and Life fairs is we've all as Christians done the knocking on doors, handing out leaflets, taking 6 months to bring up Jesus at your work, because you're nervous.
Right.
And what we find is we open the doors at 7 o'clock, 7:30, whatever it is, and there are hundreds of people, non-Christians and Christians, queued up, and they run in, and it's like this battle to sign up to hear from God.
Wow.
I mean, where else do you see that? It is incredible, and it's like what Jesus says when he said, take your net and throw it over the other side, and the fish jump into the net, so that the kind of burden is taken off of you.
Yeah.
You simply have to have a good net to catch the fish.
That's so good. I just really feel like in these last few moments, would you take an opportunity and pray for artists here in America, even for our city of Asheville, because Asheville is very much a city that is very hungry for creativity and the things of the Spirit, and yet, like a lot of cities, I would. It's probably much more like Europe than we would, recognize. But people are very open to things of the Spirit, but don't know which Spirit it is, or just they're hungry.
Yeah.
And but we believe. I just believe God's got authority on you to do that right now. So why don't we just take this next couple of minutes and do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So go for it.
Father, I want to pray for Asheville.
Yeah.
And I want to declare, Asheville, come into your destiny. Come into the destiny that God has for you. Jesus, I ask that you would invade the dreams of your people.
Yes, God.
That as they sleep and as their minds, their reasoning, rational minds are at rest, that you would speak to their hearts. Lord, that you speak to us one at a time, one by one, and that through each person, one at a time, a nation would be transformed, a town would be transformed, a household would be transformed by the love and the revelation of grace through Jesus Christ. And I call you to stand up and become all that your God has called you to be.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
That's good. That's good. I sense the Spirit connection with, again, just Scotland and Appalachia and all that God's doing, and I'm just so excited to see what He continues to do. So
we're sitting here again for people that may not know this, that may not watch our program regularly, but we are actually sitting in a real small room in a cafe right on the street in downtown Asheville, and there's a speaker out there, and people can hear this prayer that you were putting out, really in the sound waves, but in the atmosphere. And I noticed as people were walking by, mostly people are always just rushing by and they don't pay attention. But people stopped, as they're doing right now. They began to stop and turn their head and listen, even across the street where they may not can hear. I noticed people were kind of turning their head and they were turning around to listen. And so I just feel like there really was an authority on that there is a calling forth of people's creativity and their hearts to know Christ. And so
that's
awesome.
right.
It came to me earlier, and maybe that was God speaking to me earlier, was my friend Jan said to me in the midst of all my confusion about what God was doing, she said, plans change and things like that can alter, but God's destiny doesn't.
Yeah.
And that kind of dropped into my heart earlier, and then when you asked me to pray, I really felt that that's what God wanted to say, is His plan, His purpose, and His destiny will be fulfilled.
That's good.
Here.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, you know what? It has been our pleasure to have you on the show today.
It's been an honor.
And we love you so much, and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to being with you and your hubby.
Yay.
And do you say hubby, your husband over there?
Yeah, I call him lots of things.
Well, that's a whole nother show,
Some
right?
are just between him and
that's
me.
Right. Thank you, Lord. But anyway, it's been great, and I hope that folks that are watching this in the UK and all over Scotland and Europe will share this to get the word out about gathering and also what God's doing with you, to invite you to come and be a part of their church or conferences that sort of thing. So, well, hey, another great show here on In the Studio. I hope you'll join us again and watch our archives at theworshipstudio.org. But until then, we'll say goodbye for now and see you next time here on In the Studio.
Bye.
Bye.